Yeah, you missed the first part, but we're going to continue. The membrane protein molecules interrupt the continuity of the lipid bilayer, constituting an alternative pathway through the cell membrane. CJ's not here to remind me to record. Many of these penetrating proteins can function as transport proteins. Some proteins have watery spaces all the way through the molecule and allow free movement of water, as well as selected ions or molecules. These proteins are called channel proteins. Other proteins, called carriers, bind with molecules and ions that are to be transported, and conformational changes in the protein molecules then move the substances through the interstices of the protein to the other side of the membrane. Channel proteins and carrier proteins are usually selective for the types of molecules or ions that are allowed to cross the membrane. Transport through the cell membrane, either directly through the lipid bilayer or through the proteins, occurs via one of two basic processes: diffusion or active transport. Although many variations of these basic mechanisms exist, diffusion means random molecular movement of substances molecule by molecule, either through intermolecular spaces in the membrane or in combination with a carrier protein. The energy that causes diffusion is the energy of the normal kinetic motion of matter. In contrast, active transport means movement of ions or other substances across the membrane in combination with a carrier protein in such a way that the carrier protein causes the substance to move against an energy gradient, such as from low concentration to high concentration state. This movement requires an additional source of energy besides kinetic energy. All molecules and ions in the body fluids, including water molecules and dissolved substances, are in constant motion, with each particle moving in its separate way. The motion of these particles is what physicists call heat. The greater the motion, the greater the temperature, and the motion never ceases except at absolute zero temperature. This also explains the magic behind fire magic. You don't specifically create fire, you create rapid movement in the target's molecules until combustion occurs. When a moving molecule A approaches a stationary molecule B, the electrostatic and other nuclear forces of molecule A will repel molecule B, transferring some of the energy of motion from A to B. Consequently, molecule B gains kinetic energy of motion, whereas molecule A will slow down, losing some of its kinetic energy. A single molecule in a solution bounces among the other molecules, first in one direction, then another, and so forth, randomly bouncing thousands of times each second. This continual movement of molecules among one another in liquids or gases is called diffusion. Ions diffuse in the same manner as whole molecules, and even suspended colloid particles diffuse in a similar manner, except that colloids diffuse far less rapidly than molecular substances because of their large size. Diffusion through the cell membrane is divided into two subtypes called simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Simple diffusion means that kinetic movement of molecules or ions occurs through a membrane opening or through intermolecular spaces without interaction with carrier proteins in the membrane. The rate of diffusion is determined by the amount of substance available, the velocity of kinetic motion, and the number and sizes of openings in the membrane through which the molecules or ions can move. Facilitated diffusion requires interaction of a carrier protein. The carrier protein aids passage of molecules or ions through the membrane by binding them chemically and shuttling them through the membrane in this form. Simple diffusion can occur through the cell membrane by two pathways. One, through the interstices of the lipid bilayer if the diffusing substance is lipid soluble, and two, through watery channels that penetrate all the way through some of the large transport proteins. The lipid solubility of a substance is an important factor for determining how rapidly it diffuses through the lipid bilayer. For example, the lipid solubilities of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and alcohols are high, and all these substances can dissolve directly in the lipid bilayer itself and diffuse through the cell membrane in the same manner that diffusion of water solutes occurs in a watery solution. The rate of diffusion of each of these substances through the membrane is directly proportional to its lipid solubility. Especially large amounts of oxygen can be transported in this way. Therefore, oxygen can be delivered to the interior of the cell almost as though the cell membrane didn't exist at all. Even though water is highly insoluble in the membrane lipids, it readily passes through channels in protein molecules that penetrate all the way through the membrane. Many of the body's cell membranes contain protein pores called aquaporins that selectively permit rapid passage of water through the membrane. The aquaporins are highly specialized, and there are at least 13 different types in various cells of mammals. The rapidity with which water molecules can diffuse through most cell membranes is astounding. For example, the total amount of water that diffuses in each direction through the red blood cell membrane during each second is about 100 times as great as the volume of the red blood cell. Other lipid insoluble molecules can pass through the protein pore channels in the same way as water if they are water soluble and small enough. However, as they become larger, their penetration falls off rapidly. For example, the diameter of the urea molecule is only 20% greater than that of water, yet its penetration through the cell membrane pores is about 1,000 times less than that of water. Even so, given the astonishing rate of water penetration, this amount of urea penetration still allows rapid transport of urea through the membrane within minutes. Computerized three-dimensional reconstructions of protein pores and channels have demonstrated tubular pathways all the way from the extracellular to the intracellular fluid. Therefore, substances can move by simple diffusion directly along these pores and channels from one side of the membrane to the other. Pores are composed of integral cell membrane proteins that form open tubes through the membrane and are always open. However, the diameter of the pore and its electrical charges provide selectivity that permits only certain molecules to pass through. For example, aquaporins permit rapid passage of water through cell membranes, but exclude other molecules. Aquaporins have a narrow pore that permits water molecules to diffuse through the membrane in a single file. The pore is too narrow to permit passage of any hydrated ions, and the density of some aquaporins, for example, aquaporin 2, and cell membranes is not static, but is altered in different physiological conditions. The protein channels are distinguished by two important characteristics. They are often selectively permeable to certain substances, and many of the channels can be opened or closed by gates that are regulated by electric signals called voltage-gated channels, or chemicals that bind to the channel proteins, ligand-gated channels. Thus, ions are flexible dynamic structures, and subtle conformational changes influence gating and ion selectivity. Many protein channels are highly selective for transport of one or more specific ions or molecules. This selectivity results from specific characteristics of the channel, such as its diameter, shape, and the nature of the electrical charges and chemical bonds along its inside surfaces. Potassium channels permit passage of potassium ions across the cell membrane about 1,000 times more readily than they permit passage of sodium ions. This high degree of selectivity cannot be explained entirely by the molecular diameters of the ions because potassium is only slightly larger than sodium. Using X-ray crystallography, potassium channels were found to have a tetrameric structure consisting of 4 identical protein subunits surrounding a central pore. At the top of the channel pore are pore loops that form a narrow selectivity filter. Lining the selectivity filter are carbonyl oxygens. When hydrated potassium ions enter the selectivity filter, they interact with those carbonyl oxygens and shed most of their bound water molecules, permitting the dehydrated potassium ions to pass through the channel. The carbonyl oxygens are too far apart, however, to enable them to interact closely with the smaller sodium ions, which are therefore effectively excluded by the selectivity filter from passing through the pore. Different selectivity filters for the various ion channels are believed to determine, in large part, the specificity of various channels for cations and anions, or for particular ions, such as sodium, potassium, calcium, that gain access to the channels. One of the most important of the protein channels, the sodium channel, is only 0.3 to 0.5 nanometers in diameter. But the ability of sodium channels to discriminate sodium ions among other competing ions in the surrounding fluids is crucial for proper cellular function. The narrowest part of the sodium channel's open pore, the selectivity filter, is lined with strongly negatively charged amino acid residues. These strong negative charges can pull small dehydrated sodium ions away from their hydrating water molecules into these channels, although the ions do not need to be fully dehydrated to pass through the channels. Once in, the sodium ions diffuse in either direction according to the usual laws of diffusion. Thus, the sodium channel is highly selective for passage of sodium ions. Gating of protein channels provides a means of controlling ion permeability of the channels. Some of the gates are thought to be gate-like extensions of the transport protein molecule, which can close the opening of a channel or can be lifted away from the opening by a conformational change in the shape of the protein molecule itself. The opening and closing of gates are controlled in two principal ways. The first is voltage gating. In the case of voltage gating, the molecular conformation of the gate or its chemical bonds responds to the electrical potential across the cell membrane. For example, a strong negative charge on the inside of the cell membrane may cause the outside sodium gates to remain tightly closed. Conversely, when the inside of the membrane loses its negative charge, the gates open suddenly and allow sodium to pass inward through the sodium pores. This process is the basic mechanism for eliciting action potentials in nerves and in magical nerves that are responsible for nerve signals. The potassium gates are on the intracellular ends of the potassium channels, and they open when the inside of the cell membrane becomes positively charged. The opening of these gates is partly responsible for stopping an action potential. Second is chemical gating. Some protein channel gates are opened by the binding of a chemical substance with the protein, which causes a conformational or chemical bonding change in the protein molecule that opens or closes the gate. One of the most important instances of chemical gating is the effect of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine on the acetylcholine receptor, which serves as a ligand-gated ion channel. Acetylcholine opens the gate of this channel, providing a negatively charged pore about 0.65 nanometer in diameter that allows uncharged molecules or positive ions smaller than this diameter to pass through. This gate is exceedingly important for the transmission of nerve signals from one nerve cell to another and from nerve cells to muscle cells that cause muscle contraction. The gate of the channel snaps open and then snaps closed, with each open state lasting for only a fraction of a millisecond, demonstrating the rapidity with which changes can occur during the opening and closing of the protein gates. At one voltage potential, the channel may remain closed all the time or almost all the time, whereas at another voltage, it may remain open either all or most of the time. At in-between voltages, as shown as we've been talking about, the gates tend to snap open and closed intermittently, resulting in an average current flow somewhere between the minimum and maximum. The patch clamp method for recording ion current flow through single protein channels is as follows. A micropipette with a tip diameter of only 1 to 2 micrometers is abutted against the outside of a cell membrane. Suction is then applied inside the pipette to pull the membrane against the tip of the pipette, which creates a seal where the edges of the pipette touch the cell membrane directly. The result is a minute membrane patch at the tip of the pipette through which electrical current flow can be recorded. Alternatively, the small cell membrane patch at the end of the pipette can be torn away from the cell. The pipette with its sealed patch is then inserted into a free solution, which allows the concentrations of ions both inside and outside of the micropipette to be altered as desired. Also, the voltage between the two sides of the membrane can be set or clamped to a given voltage. It has been possible to make such patches small enough so that only a single channel protein is found in the membrane patch being studied. By varying the concentrations of different ions, as well as the voltage across the membrane, one can determine the transport characteristics of the single channel, along with its gating properties. Now, facilitated diffusion is also called carrier-mediated diffusion because a substance transported in this manner diffuses through the membrane with the help of a specific carrier protein. That is, the carrier facilitates diffusion of the substance to the other side. Facilitated diffusion differs from simple diffusion in the following important way. Although the rate of simple diffusion through an open channel increases proportionally with the concentration of the diffusing substance, in facilitated diffusion, the rate of diffusion approaches a maximum called the Vmax as the concentration of the diffusing substance increases. As the concentration increases, the rate of simple diffusion continues to increase proportionally, but in the case of facilitated diffusion, the rate of diffusion cannot rise higher than the Vmax level. So what is it that limits the rate of facilitated diffusion? A carrier protein with a pore large enough to transport a specific molecule partway through. It also shows a binding receptor on the inside of the protein carrier. The molecule can be transported, enters the pore and becomes bound. Then in a fraction of a second, a conformational or chemical change occurs in the carrier protein so that the pore now opens to the opposite side of the membrane. Because the binding force of the receptor is weak, the thermal motion of the attached molecule causes it to break away and be released on the opposite side of the membrane. The rate at which molecules can be transported by this mechanism can never be greater than the rate at which the carrier protein molecule can undergo change back and forth between its two states. Note specifically, though, that this mechanism allows the transported molecule to move or diffuse in either direction through the membrane. Among the many substances that cross cell membranes by facilitated diffusion are glucose and most of the amino acids. In the case of glucose, at least 14 members of a family of membrane proteins called GLUT, G-L-U-T, that transport glucose molecules have been discovered in various tissues. Some of these GLUT proteins transport other monosaccharides that have structures similar to that of glucose, including galactose and fructose. One of these, glucose transporter 4, is activated by insulin, which can increase the rate of facilitated diffusion of glucose as much as 10 to 20-fold in insulin-sensitive tissues. This is the principal mechanism whereby insulin controls glucose use in the body. By now, it is evident that many substances can diffuse through the cell membrane. What is usually important is the net rate of diffusion of substance in the desired direction. This net rate is determined by several factors. The rate at which the substance diffuses inward is proportional to the concentration of molecules on the outside, because this concentration determines how many molecules strike the outside of the membrane each second. Conversely, the rate at which molecules diffuse outward is proportional to their concentration inside the membrane. Therefore, the rate of net diffusion into the cell is proportional to the concentration on the outside minus the concentration on the inside. So net diffusion is equal to CO minus CI, in which CO is the concentration outside and CI is the concentration in the cell. If an electrical potential is applied across the membrane, the electrical charges of the ions cause them to move through the membrane, even though no concentration difference exists to cause that movement. Thus, the concentration of negative ions is the same on both sides of the membrane, but a positive charge has been applied to the right side of the membrane, and a negative charge has been applied to the left, creating an electrical gradient across the membrane. The positive charge attracts negative ions and negative charge repels them. Therefore, net diffusion occurs from left to right. After some time, large quantities of negative ions have moved to the right, creating the condition in which a concentration difference of ions has developed in the direction opposite to the electrical potential difference. The concentration difference now tends to move ions to the left, whereas the electrical difference tends to move them to the right. When the concentration difference rises enough, the two effects balance each other. At normal body temperature, the electrical difference that will balance a given concentration difference of univalent ions, such as sodium ions, can be determined from the following formula called the Nernst equation. EMF in millivolts equals plus or minus 61 log of C1 over C2, where EMF is the electromotive force and voltage between side 1 and 2 of the membrane. C1 is the concentration of side 1, and C2 is the concentration of side 2. This equation is extremely important in understanding the transmission of nerve impulses. At times, a considerable pressure difference develops between the two sides of a diffusible membrane. This pressure difference occurs, for example, at the blood capillary membranes in all tissues of the body. The pressure in many capillaries is about 22 millimeters of hydrogen of mercury greater inside than outside. Pressure actually means the sum of all the forces of the different molecules striking a unit surface area at a given instant. Therefore, having a higher pressure on one side of a membrane than on the other means that the sum of all the forces of the molecules striking the channels on that side is greater than the other. In most cases, this situation is caused by greater numbers of molecules striking the membrane per second on one side than the other. The result is that increased amounts of energy are available to cause a net movement of molecules from the high pressure side toward the low pressure side. A piston developing high pressure on one side of a pore causes more molecules to strike the pore on this side, and therefore causes more molecules to diffuse to the other side. By far, though, the most abundant substance that diffuses through the cell membrane is water. Enough water ordinarily diffuses in each direction through the red blood cell membrane per second to equal 100 times the volume of the cell itself. Yet the amount that it normally diffuses in the two directions is balanced so precisely that zero net movement of water occurs. Therefore, the volume of the cell remains constant. However, under certain conditions, a concentration difference for water can develop across a membrane. When this concentration difference for water develops, net movement of water does occur across it, causing the cell to swell or shrink depending on the direction of the water movement. This process of net movement of water caused by a concentration difference of water is called osmosis. To illustrate that, let us assume that there is a container with pure water on one side of the cell membrane and a solution of sodium chloride on the other. Water molecules pass through the cell membrane with ease, whereas sodium and chloride ions pass only through with difficulty. Therefore, sodium chloride solution is actually a mixture of permeant water molecules and non-permeant sodium and chloride ions, and the membrane is said to be selectively permeable to water, but much less so to sodium and chloride. Yet the presence of the sodium and chloride has displaced some of the water molecules on the side of the membrane where these ions are present, and therefore has reduced the concentration of water molecules to less than that of pure water. As a result, more water molecules strike the channels on the left side where there is pure water than on the right side where the water concentration has been reduced. Thus, net movement of water occurs from left to right. That is, osmosis occurs from the pure water into the sodium chloride solution. If pressure were applied to the sodium chloride solution, osmosis of water into the solution would be slowed, stopped, or even reversed. The amount of pressure required to stop osmosis is called the osmotic pressure of the sodium chloride solution. In demonstration of the principle of a pressure difference opposing osmosis, pretend we have a selectively permeable membrane again, separating two columns of fluid, one containing pure water and the other containing a solution of water and any solute that will not penetrate this membrane. Osmosis of water from B to A causes the levels of the fluid columns to become farther and farther apart until eventually a pressure difference develops between the two sides of the membrane that is great enough to oppose the osmotic effect. The pressure difference across the membrane at this point is equal to the osmotic pressure of the solution that contains the non-diffusible solute. The osmotic pressure exerted by particles in a solution, whether they are molecules or ions, is determined by the number of particles per unit volume of fluid, not by the mass of the particles. The reason for this is that each particle in a solution, regardless of its mass, exerts, on average, the same amount of pressure against the membrane. That is, large particles, which have greater mass than small particles, move at a slower velocity. The small particles move at higher velocities in such a way that the average kinetic energies is determined by the following equation. K for kinetic energy equals the mass times the volume of your particle squared divided by 2. They are the same for each small particle as for each large particle. Consequently, the factor that determines the osmotic pressure of a solution is the concentration of the solution in terms of the number of particles, not the terms of the mass of the solute. To express the concentration of a solution in terms of numbers of particles, a unit called the osmole is used in place of grams. 1 osmole is 1 gram of molecular weight of osmotically active solute. Thus, 180 grams of glucose, which is 1 gram of molecular weight of glucose, is equal to 1 osmole of glucose because glucose does not dissociate into ions. If a solute dissociates into 2 ions, 1 gram of molecular weight of the solute will become 2 osmoles because the number of osmotically active particles is now twice as great as for the non-dissociated solute. Therefore, when fully dissociated, 1 gram of molecular weight of sodium chloride, 58.5 grams, is equal to 2 osmoles. Thus, a solution that has 1 osmole of solute dissolved in each kilogram of water is said to have an osmolality of 1 osmole per kilogram, and a solution that has 1,000th osmole dissolved per kilogram has an osmolality of 1 milliosmole per kilogram. The normal osmolality of the extracellular and intercellular fluids is about 300 milliosmoles of kilogram of water. At normal humanoid body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, a concentration of 1 osmole per liter will cause 19,300 millimeters of mercury osmotic pressure in the solution. Likewise, 1 milliosmol per liter concentration is equivalent to 19.3 millimeters of mercury osmotic pressure. Multiplying this value by the 300 milliosmolar concentration of the body fluids gives a total calculated osmotic pressure of the body fluids of 5,790 millimeters of mercury. The measured value for this, however, averages only about 5,500. The reason for this difference is that many ions in the body fluids, such as sodium and chloride ions, are highly attracted to one another, and consequently, they can't move entirely unrestrained in the fluids and create their full osmotic pressure potential. Therefore, on average, the actual osmotic pressure of the body fluids is about 0.93 times the calculated value. Osmolarity is the osmolar concentration expressed as osmoles per liter of solution rather than osmoles per kilogram of water. Although strictly speaking, it is osmoles per kilogram of water that determines osmotic pressure, the quantitative differences between osmolarity and osmolality are less than 1% for dilute solutions, such as those in the body. Because it is far more practical to measure osmolarity than osmolality, measuring osmolarity is the usual practice in physiological studies. At times, a large concentration of a substance is required in the intracellular fluid, even though the extracellular fluid contains only a small concentration. This situation is true, for example, for potassium ions. Conversely, it is important to keep the concentrations of other ions very low inside the cell, even though their concentrations of the extracellular fluid are high. This situation is especially true for sodium ions. Neither of these two effects could occur by simple diffusion because simple diffusion eventually equilibrates concentrations on the two sides of the membrane. Instead, some energy source must cause excess movement of potassium ions to the insides of cells and excess movement of sodium ions to the outside. When the cell membrane moves molecules or ions uphill against a concentration gradient or uphill against an electrical or pressure gradient, the process is called active transport. Some examples of substances that are actively transported through at least some cell membranes include sodium, potassium, calcium, iron, hydrogen, chloride, iodide, and urate ions, several different sugars, and most of the amino acids. Active transport is divided into two types according to the source of the energy used to facilitate the transport: primary active transport and secondary active transport. In primary, the energy is derived directly from the breakdown of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, or some other high energy phosphate compound. In secondary active transport, the energy is derived secondarily from energy that has been stored in the form of ionic concentration differences of secondary molar or ionic substances between the two sides of the cell membrane, created originally by primary active transport. In both cases, transport depends on carrier proteins that penetrate through the cell membrane, as is true for facilitated diffusion. However, in active transport, the carrier protein functions differently from the carrier in facilitated diffusion because it is capable of imparting energy to the transported substance to move it against the electrochemical gradient. We're going to talk about some examples of primary and active transport and secondary active transport with a little bit more detailed explanations of the principles of function, but we are out of time for this class, so we will be continuing that up next time. Finish it up next lecture. Everybody get some rest over the weekend, and we will start off fresh. So where we left off, what we know and what we don't know. So you guys were sent out for the arcane botany class for Dell to find some frog leaves. You ran into a pretty bad thunderstorm, but Billy was able to spot an inn just up the road a little bit. So you guys decided to stop by for the night. It's called the Old Wolf Inn, and it's run by a woman named Inga Broadhammer. Things are a little suspicious when you guys arrive there. There are two guards and a few other patrons of the inn when you arrive who are all a little bit shaken, and you were told that there has been a murder. One of the guards, there were three, was murdered in his room last night. It is about noon when you arrive, and you have been tasked as the only unbiased members at the inn to solve the murder. You decided to split up. Jera and Dell went upstairs and searched the crime scene. They found a body modeled face down on the bed. The body had foam at the mouth, and it was determined by Dell that the person was either strangled or poisoned. And also, there was a relatively fresh, but not like just happened, wound on his right side that looks like maybe an arrow grazed it or something along those lines. There were other things in the room that were not searched necessarily. There was a table with some papers and a chest of drawers, but Dell did notice that there was a cup of on the nightstand of almost completely drank ginger honey tea. Um, that seemed a little bit suspicious. And Dell does give you all of this information as a party. Billy, Yorick, and Archie, on the other hand, decided to stay downstairs and interview some of the people, where we'll probably be continuing. Billy and Yorick began with interviewing Kara Tanner, one of the other knights, who told you that John and Artemis had gone out on some kind of mission the night prior or the day prior, and had come back. It was kind of hush hush. She doesn't really know what the whole mission was about, but it was decided that they were going to stay the night in this place and then head out first thing in the morning. The next person that they talked to was John Callion, who was the other knight. And he seemed to be a little bit more callous, maybe a little bit more stuck up in kind of personality. He said he couldn't really tell you what the mission was about because you're not from where they're going. You're not part of the guard. So from Quill Watch. So you weren't akin to that information. But he did tell you that he heard somebody snoring the night prior and that it seemed a little suspicious that Inga had brought Artemis a cup of tea later in that evening that he happened to notice. Archie went off on himself by himself and he interviewed a couple of other people. First person that he interviewed was Hugo von Silverton, who was a middle-aged human, but he didn't really seem to have too much information on what happened last night, but he did seem to be able to point the blame at just about everybody else in the room. After that, he then talked to Enoch, the bird whisperer, who seems to be a little senile, maybe. Isn't quite sure if he saw or heard anything the night prior, but Archie didn't really care because he's just a cool guy, you know, just a cool guy. As the as Billy and York were getting up to talk to John, another woman came in, seemingly oblivious to everything that was going on. Her name was Vitra, and she was delivering a package to Inga, who seemed a little shaken up by that. But Kara decided that she was going to talk to Vitra for a little while, and that is where we are now. It's been a few hours. You guys have been here. You got in about noon. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon now. And you had just finished your conversation with John, Billy, and York. Where are you guys going? What's your next plans? Where would you like to go from here?
So Billy, like, take a step away from John and tap his notebook. Okay. And look at York and be like, okay, so looks like Archie's got Enoch cornered. And I saw him go to the rich guy in the corner, something silver something. I think that just leaves, let's see, Kara's doing Vitra. So we've got to do Kyle. We got to talk. So you want to talk to Kyle next?
Sure, why not? I'll just make sure you don't die, so.
You're doing a bang up job so far. I, that was kind of sarcastic, but there is a dead body upstairs. So
And
yeah,
you
actually,
are alive, so
Yeah, you are doing a bang up job. Like, I mean, it's sarcastic, but it's also like no one's attacked me, but maybe no one's attacked me because you're here. So like, I don't know. I'm just glad you're here, you know? And Billy's just gonna like nod and, and then head towards Kyle, the aloof one.
Okay. You walk up to Kyle, Cael. His last name is Thralive, Thraelive. He's a half elf of average stature. He has long hair tied together with a leather cord at the nape of his neck, and he's wearing a fine sky blue robe with silver moon crescents, together with a matching pointy hat. Yeah, he sees you approach and looks up at you and says, "Hello."
He's sitting at a table.
Yes.
Billy would pull out the other chair and like sit himself down, just kind of smile friendly and go, so, for some odd reason, I'm interviewing everyone to try to figure out what happened. So what is your version of what happened in the last 24 hours or so?
The last 24 hours. It's a lot of time to cover, but
You have to think suspicious.
are you actually trained for this sort of thing?
Life provides training, so yes.
Okay. Anyway, last 24 hours. So I arrived. I had lunch, went up to my room. Pretty much stayed in my room most of the night until dinner time, or most of the day until dinner time. I came down for dinner. We had pot roast and freshly baked bread, and I think it was a blackberry pie for dinner, if I would not be mistaken. I had the local ale to drink and a glass of water. I then I went back up to my room shortly after uh, the dead man went to his room, and the other guards went to their rooms. I was in my room. Uh, there were a couple of bumps and noises throughout the night that woke me up. I heard some doors open and close just once, around maybe midnight. And there's somebody was loudly snoring, but usually I can sleep through that. The only reason I noticed is that the door slamming woke me up. Um, and then I came here for breakfast and found out that somebody had died. And well, what do you think happened exactly? Very curious.
Well, we're the ones still asking questions here. So, do you know who was snoring by chance?
I can't say that I went around to all of the rooms, opened them, and stared in to see who was snoring. So no.
I mean, but
You couldn't,
arguably, do
you
you
couldn't
have an
tell the room
idea?
it came from?
Yeah, yeah.
It came from upstairs where everybody was sleeping. I don't know. I just
Did you
know
have a room in the middle or on the ends?
my room. I'm happy to show it to you. Uh, is looking through my notes. Oh my gosh, where's his room?
So, then relative to where you slept, which direction did you hear the snoring?
I know
I
he has
love that.
a room, but I don't have it in my notes, and this is really bugging me.
You better know who was the snorer because we're not letting that detail go.
Yes, I
Like,
know
forget
who.
who
Because
murdered. We need to know who's snoring.
Oh, here we go.
Get him a sleep apnea machine.
I was in
that's York's key point. It's like, okay, this person said this person snored. Got it. Okay.
when you go up the stairs, my room is directly in front of you and to the right. So the first room to the right that you can see from the stairway. You guys did get the map, right? I did get you the map.
Did you put that in chat? I think you put it in chat, yeah.
Okay. I remember giving them to you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a chat. Which I totally forgot until you just said that. Old Wolf Inn. Okay, so the stairs going, so it's the first to the, what'd you say?
So as soon as you walk up the stairs, there's a door in front of you. And then to the right, that next door is my room.
Okay. On the south side, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so to York's question, I mean, if it was loud enough to startle you and to kind of wake you, you'd have an idea if the snoring came from the east or the west.
I mean, I guess if I had to place my finger on exactly what room it was coming from, I would have to say that it was more than likely. Let's see, if I was laying on my bed and the head was that way, came from my left.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Well, it's so hard, smartass.
I apologize. I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm just trying to think.
You'll forgive him. He's the bad cop.
What's a cop?
It's like a guard, but for the big city.
I see.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here. I'm just asking random questions to try to kill some time because I don't think anyone's allowed to leave until they find the body, and everyone just kind of keeps coming through the door, and guard lady just kind of keeps commandeering our time. And it's raining, so what else are we gonna do? So what are you doing here?
What do I
You
do
know,
here? I'm just traveling through and
yeah. Why are you here? Like, you know, we're out in the forest. We were trying to look for ingredients for a project. What are you passing through for?
I'm just heading toward Serrano. Um, I'm a scholar. I have to pick up some books from the school on my way over to Serrano, where I have a couple of classes that I'm supposed to be taking in wizardry.
Oh, that explains the yeah.
Yes, the look. Yes, I'm a wizard, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to assume. Maybe you just like dressing that way. You know,
I mean, wouldn't everybody? They're comfortable.
they do look comfortable. I'm preferential to the Prismari colors myself, and like did he put down his backpack? I never said Billy put down his backpack. I'll say it's to the side of him. He kind of like points down to the backpack that has the Wayverhaven or the Prismari logo on it, like embroidered or whatever. Like, yeah, that's where we're students.
You're not wearing the uniform?
I mean, Billy wears like a leather tunic, like a leather apron over everything, but it's got the colors. So, you know, he didn't really wear the outfit per se because it's a little too
Stand
fancy. Yeah.
York will dismiss his armor, and then it'll be the Pismaria uniform.
I was like, yeah. See, it was a bit too flash, too, you know, woo, in your face. Anyways, I go for the more subtle.
as they are arguing over their clothes with Kyle. Archie, what you've been standing or sitting across from Enoch for a little while. Every single person heard genital warts in the room.
Venereal warts.
For venereal
Venereal.
warts.
Venereal.
That's right. What would you like to be doing?
Archie will stand up, I guess hop down from the chair and then say to Enoch in Druidic, if he speaks it, hopefully, and just say, if you can think of anything that might help us, you should let me know or let them know. It'd just be nice.
I can tell you a couple of things.
Oh.
First off, and this is all in Druidic.
Mhm.
First off, I've seen that girl, and he points to Vitra in the forest. But to be entirely honest, I'm a touch afraid of her. She's rather large. I did meet that man, and he points to Hugo, on the way to the inn. I don't like him. He mistook me for a beggar, and that is quite rude, if I do say so myself. What else could I possibly tell you? I don't know exactly what happened at the inn. I apologize. But I feel that there are many ill omens and dire signs that have been leading up to this. At about that moment, Dell and Jera walk up to you as you're closest to the stairs. And Dell says, "Hey, so I have some information."
Oh, good job, Remy. What are you doing?
Okay, so information to relay to you. First of all, the man upstairs is dead. And
Darn, too late.
he was foaming at the mouth, which leads me to think that he was possibly poisoned or strangled, but I'm not exactly sure which.
Huh.
Furthermore, there's a bandaged cut on his side. The window was slightly ajar. And there's a mostly empty teacup by the bedside, and he still has it in his hands. Actually, it's not by the bedside anymore. It's right here.
Have you tasted it?
No, I haven't. I'm kind of
Okay.
terrified too, though. It smells delicious, though.
You know, this morning I was thinking to myself, maybe I should bring all the components I need to cast that one spell we learned, detect poison. But then I thought, who needs that? I need that.
Yeah, we need that. But it's okay. It's okay, friends. For next time, we will remember. If we're ever in an inn and there's a dead man and we think they
Yes.
might have been poisoned, next time we will be ready.
Yes, thank you, Remy.
Jera comes out from behind him, and I found a mouse.
Nice. Did the mouse do it?
Did you do it? I don't understand mouse.
Hmm.
This could be a problem. I don't think they speak common. Do you speak common? He doesn't speak common. He just looked at me.
Or maybe that's just what he wants you to think.
Come on, friend. Let us go talk. And Jera sits in the other booth where nobody is sitting and sets the mouse on the table, and the mouse immediately runs away.
Archie's gonna go. Oh gosh, do I look at a dead body or do I talk to Inga? He'll talk to Inga first.
Okay.
When she's done with the conversation, of course.
She doesn't have anybody around her at the moment. She's just cleaning glasses behind the bar.
Hi, Miss Broadhammer.
Yes, of course. What can I do for you? Do you want something to drink or something to eat? Here's our menu. And she slides a menu across.
Yes, thank you.
I don't really know what to do in these situations. I'm terribly nervous. So I'm just going to continue to do what I normally do.
That's perfect. I'm a professional, so I'm here to help.
Thank the gods.
Yes. We have this teacup. It's ginger and honey.
Yes.
Do you sell this here?
She gulps and she looks down at her menu, and she points to it. It's this large pot of tea, in quote, in parentheses, various types. for 3 copper.
So ginger honey is one that you carry.
I everybody who drinks tea has honey, and ginger honey is not that wild. Yeah, we carry it.
Can I have one?
Have one, of course. You know what? This one's going to be on the house, and she goes to the back and gets some hot water off of a fire and pours you a cup of tea. Do you want the honey? Do you want cream?
Honey is good, no cream.
Perfect. And she hands you a little bowl with a little honey comb.
Say, I've noticed that you've been limping. Are you all right?
You've been what? Sorry.
Limping? That's what I have in my notes.
Oh, limping. It's an old injury. I was attacked by a basilisk many moons ago. I
Wow.
never quite healed properly, but I've been walking with a limp ever since.
Well, he'll hold up his cane. I know a cane guy if you need one.
I've been looking for a good one. I've been using sticks mostly.
Yeah, he's about 4 or 5 days south of Serrano.
Really, the biggest problem is, and I'm sure you're aware of it, is that the height difference seems to make a problem with most of the people that build canes. They're twice my height.
Wait, is Inga's a
She's a dwarf.
yeah, so I mean we're about the same height. My cane guy's pretty good.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to go. Could I get his name, please?
Yeah, he'll show her. I'm sure there's a maker's mark on it somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, give that to her.
She'll write that down.
So are any of these people regulars here, or are they all just kind of passing through for the first time?
Well, the soldiers have been here many times. Vitra, of course, she doesn't actually stay. She just lives near the area. She brings me the meat that I serve on a regular basis, which is what she brought in today. Unfortunately, it was today, so now she's stuck here too, which is just really great. But yeah, the soldiers, they've come pretty frequently. Kyle, not really seen him before. Hugo, rarely he passes through, but I've met him. Enoch, he's a regular, even though he's kind of the
The what?
odd one. But
I thought he was pretty cool.
oh, of course, he's plenty nice. Just something seems to have been knocked loose. Going to continue to clean, unless you need something. I'm
No.
just so worried. I'm just
No,
so
it's-
worried that the people are just gonna stop coming to the inn. Oh, what if people stop coming? Then what do I do? What do I do to make money? I'm sorry. I shouldn't be worrying you about any of this. It's not your problem. You just stepped into the inn at the worst possible time. But I'm just gonna go to the back really quickly and try to clean up some stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I heard the walk-in needs some cleaning.
Freaking walk-ins.
Crying in the walk-in.
Crying in the walk-in.
Yeah.
Classic. Archie, anything you'd like to do? Or we're going to go next, and then we're going to go over to York and Billy.
Yeah, want to look at that dead body.
Then go look at the dead body.
Yeah, but there's so many other leads down here. Okay, yeah. He'll start heading upstairs.
Okay. Billy and Yorick, you don't have to stick together. You just are together right now. But if you want to go do other things, I mean, don't feel obligated to be together the whole time.
So
I'm protecting Billy with my life.
at this point, we've
Not
talked
Billy,
to
I'll
everyone.
fail.
So places,
Like timeline, I'm assuming like we're not Billy's just been twiddling his thumb while Archie had his turn. So like things are probably taking place roughly the same time, right?
yeah. like while you were talking with Kyle, Archie had gotten up and gone to talk to Inga. By the time you were done with your conversation with Kyle, he had been heading upstairs. At this point, Dell is going back upstairs with Archie to kind of show him what he saw. And Jarrah is trying to catch a mouse.
I think Billy is going to Billy is going to go to Inga first,
Okay.
just approach her and go, so you probably know who was in what room. Could you show me who was in what room?
I, you guys can't hear that person honking outside, can you? Okay. They're very angry. Um, she says, I mean, of course I could tell you who's in whose room. I don't know if they'll be taking kindly to me letting you into their rooms.
No, I'm not asking to get in. We're just trying to get the layout of the land, as it were, kind of get an idea where everyone was last night. You know, not I don't want to invade anyone's privacy until we have to.
Sure, of course, of course. I am going the wrong way in my notes. She puts the glass down that she was holding, and comes out from behind the bar and heads upstairs with the keys that were hanging just behind the bar. They're in view. You can see the keys hanging in view. They're on one ring, but she heads upstairs. So, to put it into context, we're going to do northeast, southwest. And we're going to go clockwise. So starting in the northeast, this top corner room, that room is John's. Going clockwise, the next room is Kara's. The bottom or the southeast room is Artemis's, where Dell and Archie currently are. The next room over is Kael's. The next two rooms are empty, and what will be your rooms if you decide to stay. The northwest room is Inga's room. The next room is empty and could also be used for one of you if you would prefer. And the last room finally is Hugo's room.
Okay, let me make sure I got that correct.
You'll notice that Enoch and does not have a room.
Yeah.
Because he just
And that was
pops in and
that
out.
was a question because he was a regular who just came for meals.
Yes.
Okay, so
And then
John,
Vitra,
Kara,
of course, doesn't
Artemis,
have a room because she doesn't stay there.
Keel, empty, Inga, empty, Hugo. And Hugo is right next to the staircase on the west, like the west side of the staircase, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I got a good idea of the room layouts.
Archie and Dell, you are both in Artemis's room currently. And scene, go.
I have solved the mystery.
Wait,
Just-
but you did. Oh, that was a joke.
Yeah, sorry. I was just trying to lighten the mood. All the death and everything.
You're good, Rumi. You're really good.
So Archie, what
Excellent.
you see just directly from the door, when you first walk in, the bed is to your left. There is a body in the middle of the bed face down. Directly next to the bed is a nightstand where Dell told you that the cup of tea is, but currently he's holding it instead. At the end of the bed is a little chest of drawers, and then directly in front of you is a desk, and then to the right is a fireplace.
So foaming at the mouth.
Yes.
Can I do a look over the body, open up that bandage, look at the wound and see if it's like infected or anything, or
Sure. You can give me either an investigation or medicine check. I don't have Roll20 open, so you can use your own dice or you can use Roll20, whichever one.
that's a 12 on Roll20.
All right, a 12 on investigation or medicine?
Medicine.
Medicine. Okay. Dell points to you where the bandage is, and you peel it back. The wound is fresh, but it has kind of sort of started to heal. Your best guess is that it did come from some sort of grazing arrow or crossbolt. It's not deep enough to make you think that it was any kind of like blade that necessarily caused it. On close inspection, like you're getting like right up into it, and you've got like a little light on it and everything, like with a candle. You do notice there's a little bit of odd coloration right around the very edges of it. You're not exactly sure what that is. I don't know if it's like just scabbing or if, just maybe dead tissue. You're not exactly sure, but something seems a little weird with that.
Hey, Dell.
Yes.
Do you see that color?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the best that I could tell is that the wound wasn't particularly fresh. But as far as that color, that is odd. Yes.
Hmm.
But yes, I am more curious about this tea.
I had some. It was pretty good.
You have not gone to ask Inga about the tea, but Archie did. Archie did talk to it. It is on the menu for the for her little restaurant that she has downstairs.
Okay.
The tea I had was not the same one that this guy drank, though. Just to be clear.
Yeah, Archie did buy a cup of tea, was
Ginger tea.
given a cup of ginger tea. And he
Uh,
has not died, so
Yeah.
I'm
So
still
was-
waiting.
yeah, if it was poison, it's probably a small
Well,
batch.
I mean, it may just be your hardy dwarven constitution.
It's true. I have resistance to poison. I need to remember that at all times.
So really, we know nothing.
Um.
All right.
So we should find out how he got this wound, right?
We could ask his compatriots. Perhaps they were in the battle recently.
Right. It's all the way downstairs.
Ooh, those are multiple stairs.
yeah, with a limp and a cane, stairs would be kind of rough.
Yeah, I hate stairs.
Like you've gotten used to the ones on campus because they kind of just flatten and lift you up. You don't have to do any work.
Well, I mean, if you want, I can make a floating disc for you to fly on.
That sounds great, but I mean, like, I don't want you to, use up your, I don't want to tire yourself out before we fight whoever did this, because we're gonna fight them
Yeah.
one way or another.
What if they're already dead?
Oh my gosh, double homicide.
Double homicide. You must be prepared emotionally. But in either case, I will save my magic for when
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Yeah, you can just give me a piggyback, right? It'll be fine.
No. He walks away.
All right.
Anything else you'd like to do in this room?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Billy and Yorick, you are both upstairs as well. Inga had just shown you all of the rooms and has thus headed back downstairs. So the four of you are currently upstairs all together.
Oh, we're upstairs.
Yeah, you're in the Artemis's room.
Oh, I know. I was
Really?
upstairs. I didn't know that they were coming up.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Billy and Yorick followed Inga to figure out what the layout of all the rooms were. So, like, as soon as Billy sees Yorick and Archie come out, excuse me, he's gonna go up to them and be like, "Okay, let's compare some notes."
Here are mine. He is definitely dead.
We
Oh
got
my
a
God,
second.
it's so
We got a
funny.
second opinion, and it's true.
That is so funny because it was like playing you telling Archie everything, and the first thing I said was, "Well, there is a dead man upstairs."
True.
That's awesome.
All right. York says to Dell, like, all right, gut feeling, who did it? Life or death? You had to pick right now. Who did it?
The man with the crow.
No, he is innocent of everything.
What? I thought this was my turn to guess. You get your own turn.
Yeah, I'm telling you, your guess is wrong.
Well, it sounds like Archie knows. All right, who did it? Life or death, you had to pick right now.
Not Enoch.
So what did you learn from Enoch about Enoch?
His name is Enoch.
He has a raven named Crow.
Funny.
They talk. He doesn't understand him, but they talk.
Is that why you think he didn't do it?
Oh yeah. Also, he has no reason to. I mean, there's literally no motive there. He's kind of scared of Vitra on account of her being so big. He doesn't
you
like
think Vitra did it?
Hugo. Could be.
Do you think Hugo did it?
I want him to have done it.
All right, that's all I need. Okay, so we'll just say it's Hugo. We call it a good. We beat him up and we go.
Well, no,
All done.
that's only 2 votes for Hugo. Bailey?
I mean, I wanted to compare notes a little bit more. Like the whole point of this is not gut reaction, guys.
Also,
We're
this is
investigators.
this is throwing it out there. We need a prime suspect.
I don't think that Hugo did it. I just wouldn't be mad if he did. I mean, I'd be mad at him because he killed somebody, but like, come on,
But if
Really?
you wanted to be someone, you would want it to be Hugo.
he's kind of he's a little pompous.
I mean,
All right, suspect number 1, Hugo.
it's
Really.
probably like it seems much more likely that it's going to be one of the other guards. Like,
John or Kara?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
did you
Kara,
guys
second in
ask-
command, suddenly she's now in command. And let's look at the facts here. When they came to the end. So here's what we learned from John and Kara, because me and Billy, me and York, that's who we talked to.
Mhm.
So they were transporting a prisoner to Serrano, completed that. They were heading back, and Artemis, dead guy, gets a letter. And suddenly he takes out John, 3rd rank. They go out on some mission, and they won't even tell Kara what it's about. I get that John wouldn't tell me. I'm Joe Schmo from the street.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't tell Kara.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That seems suspicious to me. And in
also, on that, Hugo told me that Artemis was yelling at Kara last night, and Kara seemed unhappy about it.
Enmity.
wonder if she
Okay.
tried to push him on the information.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So we have that. Now, one of them is probably a snorer.
See, you're on the point I was about to be on. So we ask everyone if they know about the snore, and then there's gonna be 2 people who probably will say no. One's the snorer, and one's the murderer, or maybe there's just one and it's the same person. I don't think so. But then we take a 50-50 gamble. We take one of them. Bada bing, bada boom. Close enough.
I'm unfamiliar with this technique. Did you learn it in your high society?
Yes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Write that down. So then, yes, Artemis and John went on a secret mission. Kara did not appreciate that, potentially. Archibald also found this. Artemis had this wound on the side. It probably wasn't what killed him, because it wasn't particularly fresh, but some sort of slicing.
Do we think, like, when you say not fresh, could it
Not
have
last
happened
night.
within the past day? Like
The
yesterday.
past day?
It seemed, yeah, it wasn't completely scabbed over. The healing had just started.
Yeah.
But there might have been some slight discoloration. But that could have
Whatever.
just been weird scabbing.
It wouldn't be out of the question to say that it happened within the last day.
That's few. Yeah.
So they went on some sort of secret mission into the forest, and he came back with a wound.
He got shot, yeah.
Okay.
A graze.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, that does imply, wow, we don't know what they were doing, because maybe the murderer isn't even in the building.
What happened to the prisoner that they were transporting?
They took him to Serrano, I believe.
Oh, mission successful then.
Yes, they were heading back to, because they're Quill Watch, so they're from those 3 are from Quill Watch. They were heading back from Serrano, so they didn't have a prisoner anymore. And I guess some letter came, and that's what led to this whole side mission, and that's the reason why they ended up staying in this. So that's why I think that's got something to do with it. That's my that's my gut talking to me. I'm not gonna nail anyone to the wall until we know, and I'm not gonna let you guys nail anyone to the wall until we have a good suspicion.
Oh, of course. No final judgments, just prime suspects.
I don't think so. Enoch seems like we can maybe rule him out.
Yes.
You know, I think maybe Kyle could also be ruled out at this point because now he independently collaborated the snore, and the snore seemed to happen around the same time as the murder. And so either he's in on it and everybody's the murderer, it's always possible, or he's just some dude who wears
You just like
awesome
I
robes.
see York's eyes like wide open. Oh, dude,
Everyone's
think
a
about
martyr.
So then, where to go from here? I think that the Quill Watch guards are our best lead.
Problem is, we're doing the investigation at their behest, and I don't think they're
to
gonna
look
appreciate.
to not look suspicious.
What we'll do is pin them against each other. We'll talk to one talking about the other. Because you said Kara and John perhaps may not be seeing eye to eye?
It seems highly likely, yes. Okay. Yeah, okay. So who wants to take whom?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Del, you want to talk to John with
Catch
me?
a lizard by the... If it hollers at it, John! John wins.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You got it, Rumi.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. She's my queen. So that leaves you two with Kara.
Seems like a good plan.
All right. You all head back downstairs. And let's start with Kara. She's still sitting in the same place. Vitra is now standing up talking over by Inga at the bar. She tells Kara, kind of actually waves you over to her, and you sit down across from her. She says, okay, so here's what I've learned from Vitra. Okay. She saw Enoch out in the woods collecting herbs. And then Vitra told me that she feels that if anybody is involved, it's more than likely Kyle. He seems to be the only one with magic, so she seems to think that that was something that could have been used in the murder.
So you're not going to love this. So me and York have spoken with most everyone and my other companions, and Billy's gonna kind of gesture towards Archie and Del, who are going to talk, who are like heading over, have talked to everyone else and seen the body. And unfortunately, the most fingers are actually pointing at you as the primary suspect.
Me.
You're the guard here. I'm kind of telling you where the lay of the land is. And this unfortunately include pretty much everyone we talked to pointed the finger at you, except I guess Inga really didn't have any. She didn't really have any guesses as to that. So neither here nor there.
Listen, there's no way I could have done it. I was fast asleep all night long. What in the world is telling you that I did it? I always looked up to Artemis's leadership. Why in the world would I kill him?
Well, I mean, so someone overheard a fight between you and Artemis last night, and Kyle may have, or John may have implied that there was some animosity because Artemis took him on the mission with the letter and not you. And so it's, like I said, I'm not accusing you because that doesn't make any sense. Why would you, if you were the murderer, ask us to investigate the murder? Like it doesn't make any sense. So but
No,
I'm
not
trying
really.
to exactly. But I'm trying to figure out like why are people thinking this? Why are people saying this? Why is John under the impression that you would have some sort of issue with them going on the mission? And why did someone hear you have a fight? Like what happened?
John thinks that he is, how do I put this nicely? John thinks that he's fantastic guard material, and he is. He's a good guard. I'm second in command. I did talk to Artemis after the fact, not because I was upset I didn't go on the mission, though. I talked to him to see if there was anything I could do about that. And it got a little bit heated when I found out that Artemis was wounded and wasn't doing anything about it. And I told him I don't care how much he doesn't like to admit his weakness or to show any signs of weakness. If he's hurt, he needs to deal with it. I don't know exactly how he got hurt or what happened, but he got hurt. I knew that. But honestly, the reason that he didn't pick me for the mission, more than likely, if I had to take a guess and I was in his shoes, is because if you're going to go on a mission that could potentially turn deadly, you may not want your first and second in command to be the two people that were killed.
Yeah, that makes sense. So were you the one who bandaged him up? Or did he do that himself?
I never saw the actual wound. I just knew that he was kind of wincing on his side a little bit. He like bumped it on the door frame, and but like, ugh. I'm like, okay, really, seriously, dude. I never actually saw the wound itself.
Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter now, but how'd you know he didn't take care of it? If he bandaged it, that's, what else can you do? A little bit of salve and bandage, and it seemed like that didn't kill him. Like it was just a flesh wound.
Hmm.
And he that wasn't what killed him. So I'm just kind of curious
I've been around
for
Artemis for a while, and to say that Artemis typically doesn't do jack about his wounds is the honest truth. He'll get hurt. He'll break his hand. He'll be like, it's not that big of a deal. I'll deal with it later. No, you need to cast it. You need to wrap it. Stuff like that. So I was always on to him about stuff like that. So that's not like it was anything out of the
gotcha.
ordinary.
Gotcha.
I assumed that it wasn't bandaged. If it was bandaged, good.
I mean, did he
but
not tell you he bandaged it, or
he said
like
he
did
was
he?
going to take care of it.
I mean, it seemed he did in the end. Not that it mattered.
Exactly.
So you said you did sleep through the night.
Yeah. Slept like a log.
So a pretty heavy sleeper. Because apparently some of the other ones say that like they may have actually heard the murder take place. A lot of, banging and so on and so forth. But so you slept through it?
Honestly, truthfully, that's one of my biggest flaws is that I could sleep through a whirlwind if it blew through the building.
Okay.
Yet I always wake up feeling kind of tired still.
You might want to see a specialist about that, actually.
Do you get complaints that you snore?
Who the hell told you about that?
Everyone. Not you, no one said you specifically, to be fair.
The one trip that I forget my breathe right strips.
Like,
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Billy.
When you get older, it's gonna it happens to everyone when they get older. Trust me, I cannot. If I lay flat, my wife will shove her foot into my back, and I'm off the bed. So, no worries, it's fine.
Well, don't tell everybody it was me.
So, Okay. I mean, so I don't know how much closer we are because it seemed people thought it would be a guard, and it seemed more people thought it might be you. Of course, I mean, if it's John and not you, it would make sense for John to kind of be trying to push us in your direction. Of course, now, well, I mean, who do you think might have done it?
Honestly, I think the sneakiest person around here is that guy in the corner, but he hasn't like done anything to make me think about it. The only other person we've really interacted with was Inga. Now, I mean, Artemis can be a little bit unfair sometimes, and I know he kind of got in her face, but I don't think it was anything to murder somebody over. I don't know. So probably that guy in the corner, the Hugo guy. But I don't have any motive for it. I don't have any motive. I don't have any way of him doing it. He's just creepy, which you know you can't arrest somebody on.
I mean, if we're going with creepy, there's a guy talking to a featherless bird.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's crazy. There's a difference between crazy and creepy.
Okay, okay. Your point made. I mean, it's a featherless pigeon.
What's the
So
featherless pigeon?
that's what I had written down. It was a featherless pigeon.
For
Yeah, his
Raven.
raven.
Yeah. I mean, the featherless thing is what, like, that ain't great. That's weird. And Archie is not around to hear Billy be like, "Ugh,
Maybe he has alopecia.
birds get that."
We are just all right. So let's go over to Archie and Dell. You guys are going over to talk with John.
yep.
And scene.
Wait, Rumi, real quick. Side hustle. Side hustle.
Yes.
Hey, so how are we gonna do this?
All right. So, like I said, we're gonna pin them against each other. We'll let him know that Kara is our lead suspect. So we just need to ask him a few questions.
So tell him that she's our lead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do want to ask him about the wound he got on his side, Artemis.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
That's good.
Okay. Are we doing a good cop, bad cop? Are we doing good cop, bad cop, bad cop?
This is a very good question. Oh, I'm out of coins. Let's see. You seem. Oh, you could go both ways, honestly. I can see you good cop or bad cop. I'll roll for it. He reaches in his bag. All right. I vote for you. Ooh, good cop. Oh, no.
Wait, who's good cop?
That was you, but oh, now I gotta think about how to be a bad cop. Are you better at bad cop?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I've been told I'm very expressive, so I'm sure it'd be good in either one.
All right, I'll roll one more time.
Okay.
All right, this is for you, for all the marbles. Good cop. You good cop.
Okay, I'm good cop.
Yes. All right.
John is sitting on the couch directly in front of the fireplace, drinking an ale.
Hey, John.
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Like my superior was just murdered. So great.
Yeah, I feel that. So, we were talking, the four of us, and unfortunately, we have a lead suspect.
Great.
know you-
Who is he? Let's kill him.
It's not
Not he.
he. I'm afraid Kara might be our lead here.
Kara.
All signs lead to a Quill Watch member, and she's the most likely one.
It's not surprising. It wouldn't be her first time in prison.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not not surprised at all. She used to have a horrible gambling problem. Ended up in a ton of debt, tried to rob somebody, and it went wrong, and she ended up in prison. How she ended up being a guard, much less second in command, beyond me.
Nepotism. It's got to be.
Nepotism. Really?
Yeah.
I hear a hint of something in that. You don't think that she deserves this position?
I respect Kara.
Of course.
I I think I would be a better leader.
I mean, like you
Yeah.
said, she has been to jail.
True. She has been.
What of Artemis? Was he a good leader?
Artemis? Yeah, I didn't always like the way that he unfairly treated the common folk, but he was in charge. Nothing I can do about it. But overall, he was a good leader.
I'm sorry, unfairly treated the common folk?
He tended to act like he was better than everybody.
Oh.
He
Yeah.
was a little bit scornful to the common folk, I guess you could say. But I mean, what was I gonna do about it? He's my boss.
Yeah, it's true.
There was this something we haven't been able to put together. People say they overheard an argument between Kara and Artemis over a little trip you and Artemis took. Could
Oh,
you
yeah,
clear
you're
that up for us?
I'm going to tell you the exact same thing that I told your friends over there. We were called onto a mission. It's a scouting mission. We found information that the captain of Quill Watch would find highly interesting. I cannot tell you about that information as you are not members of the guard of Quill Watch or the captain of Quill Watch. Nonetheless, Artemis received a letter. We went out on the mission. We returned. It was decided we would stay here for the night before continuing on our way.
Yes, you can't give us the details. I understand that. But we happened to notice a marking on Artemis' body, a wound. Perhaps that's something you could shed some light on?
I mean, we're guards. We get hurt sometimes, as far as I know.
Right, but it looked like it was relatively recent, probably within the past day or so. We know
Right.
that you guys were off on your business. Wondering if maybe it happened, if you met any trouble or something out there.
Not really. No.
All safe, all clear, easy mission.
As far as I can tell you, and as much as I can tell you, it was an easy mission.
So you didn't see him, Artemis, get the wound?
If there was anything that was related to anyone being wounded, it would be information that I would not be allowed to share with you.
Of course, of course. Also, do you snore or know who does snore?
What kind of question is that?
Take this very seriously. Someone died. Do you snore or do you know who does snore?
I don't snore as far as I'm aware, but I did hear somebody snoring last night.
Mm-hmm. Last night? Okay. Yes. Now, back to Kara. You said she's a good enough leader. Others
Fine.
could be better.
Yes.
Now, for these positions, are they voted upon or just given from the head?
Yeah,
person?
the mayor typically assigns captains. He can be overruled by royalty or anybody higher than the mayor, but once that captain is chosen, the captain usually chooses like 5
Hmm.
leaders or so, just depending on how large the guard ship is at that time.
Yes.
And then
And
it's usually you move up through the ranks based on your ability to do your job well.
Performance and whatnot.
Sure.
So then,
So with Artemis gone, is it a for sure thing that Kara moves up, or
Mhm.
In our ranks, she is second in command, which makes her acting leader as of right now. The captain typically goes with the order of things, but from time to time does go out of order depending on merit.
right? But
Yes.
you said acting leader. So her captainship is temporary, not for sure permanent. It's not guaranteed. I mean.
Until we talk to the captain, I mean,
Mhm.
she's acting leader until we can get back to Quill Watch and talk to the captain, and he makes the
Understood.
final decision on whether or not to move up into that place. I'm sure, despite whatever you guys figure out or decide, whoever gets arrested, they're still going to do another investigation once we get back.
Of course. Of course. Well, I think I have no more questions. Archie,
I think we're good for now.
don't leave town. He walks away.
Okay.
Hey, Rumi, quick word. Good job. You're a terrible bad cop. You were not mean to him at all.
What? But I was not talking to him in a friendly manner at all. His feelings not hurt? I even pressed him a bit about the snoring thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So good bad cop? No.
From the
shall.
from the counter, you hear a like a rapping at the bar counter. Inga has a little mallet in her hand. She, bang, bang, bang. Everybody, supper will be ready in about 30 minutes or so. It'll be on me today, just because of all this horrible stuff that's been going on, but it's going to be on me.
Thank you, Inga.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Billy, York.
This is where you say what you're doing.
You have to say thank you to Inga.
Yeah, that was Inga.
Thank you, Inga.
You're welcome.
Really kind of you. So we've stepped away from Kara. Is Dell and Archie stepping away from?
Yeah.
Okay. So like we'll meet back up somewhere, empty table, compare notes again. It's all about notes.
Now, what did you find out about John?
I mean, that he's gunning for the position, and Kara probably didn't do it because she's probably the snorer. I've got at least 2 other people who say there was someone snoring during the incident, and she's a big snorer.
The
and it
most
would have either been-
likely suspect for the snore, yes.
So probably not her. We did find out that apparently Artemis was kind of a D-bag to everyone.
Yes. That goes along with what we found.
Oh, you heard the same thing. Okay, so
Specifically to the commoners.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
which is most everyone. Like
I am common.
right?
Yes, they are quite common.
We are all speaking it right now. Common. Vernacular.
Yeah. What was the number 2's name again?
Kara.
Kara?
Hmm.
Kara?
And then the number 3,
John.
John.
John. That's right. I was like,
How did you forget that?
Oh,
it's too normal of a name, you know.
that's very fair.
To be fair, his name actually isn't John, just like Kyle's name isn't actually Kyle. but it's slowly morphed into John and Kyle.
No, his name's legitimately John.
Oh, is it that one really? I know
Yeah, but you
Kyle's
gave,
not
like-
Kyle, but
A Johnny,
Well-
John,
His name is John Callion.
oh, John Callion.
Oh, that's
No.
where I got John Olenian. Combine John and Callian.
York's just like,
It's-
I don't know about this whole fact business, but I'm feeling that John did it and is
Mhm.
trying to frame Kyle, and then he will take number one because then Kyle will go to prison or whatever and try to blame it on him, her, him.
Damn.
Well, I mean, John doesn't feel well, has no good feelings about Kara, and he does believe that he would do a better job in the position, but it's not a guarantee that he would get the spot. It's still up to the captain when they get back into town.
Yeah, I know how these things typically go, and unless someone oversteps that joins it, he's next. It would be next in line, so that's typically would happen.
Hmm.
It would be an effective way if he would. I mean, if he blamed Kara and got her taken out,
Mm-hmm. Boom, boom.
that would take out, like, he's third in line and he just took out the first two with one swoop. So
Straight to the top. Prime motive.
sounds like motive, yo. Yep.
How did douchebag McGee die anyway?
We don't know
Well,
yet.
there was foaming at the mouth. There was a wound with odd coloration around it. And there was a cup of tea by his bedside.
Yeah, we don't have a way to test for poison, so we're kind of SOL
Well-
on that.
Well, we don't have a good way of testing for poison.
Oh wait,
um.
I'm resistant to poison. Give me that teacup. I will drink it.
Yep. Let's do it.
I have a good chance of succeeding in this.
By
I'm
that
having-
description, could I take a medicine check and assume if that was poison then?
Yeah.
There was only a little
Yeah.
at the bottom of this cup, though. So, yeah,
It
just
would be
just a
more
taste.
like a nature check. I don't know. Yeah, you can do.
Depends on the type of poison.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll stick with medicine for now.
All right.
I will I actually have a medicine student dice. I will try as well. Whatever, that's fine. I know average amount about poison, I guess. Or I could waste my other student. You know what? Yeah, I am gonna do that. All student die on this one medicine check. That means nothing. Whatever. Okay, I'm not doing any rolls ever. I'm not here.
What did you roll?
I originally got an 11, and I re-rolled with I have a athletic medicine student die, and I got an 8, and I used my normal student die and got an 11 again. So it doesn't matter. I know average amount of it, so maybe if it's an easy check, I know something.
I just like imagining that you're over here thinking, and then you're just like frustrating yourself tring to figure it out, and
Yeah.
then you were just like, "Why are you upset?"
Yeah, I mean, you really can't tell anything about it. It smells like tea. It looks like tea.
Archibald just tasted it for the note.
Yeah, Archibald is going to drink it. The rest of the tea.
Okay.
This guy's
Having-
dead. Like, YOLO.
Please roll.
I'm
in
a
happy
dwarf.
character.
Flashbacks
I'm
to
resistant.
the walled city of whatever it was.
Kowloon.
Yeah, Kowloon, whatever the fantasy version of that was, where the party's just like, yeah, we're gonna just try and drink and eat whatever, it'll be fine. It was actually fine in the end.
Eventually.
Archie, you drink the tea. With bated breath, everybody watches you. At first, everybody was very shocked because you kind of choked on it, but you were like trying to hold the cough back a little bit. Billy just about has a heart attack, but not quite. But you feel fine.
Oh, that tea's been sitting out all night. Oh,
Mhm.
it's cold.
Yes.
I should have
Cold-
warmed it up first.
Cold ginger tea.
Is everyone currently in the room, or has Inga walked away?
Inga's in the back in the kitchen, but
Preparing the meal.
Billy is going to. Oh, I mean, what's my performance? No. Okay. Billy is going to stand up with a gasp, clutching his chest, and say, "The tea was poisoned." He's very specifically trying, like, he's stood up and spun so that way he can have a good eye on as many people as he possibly can. I've got
Did you give
performance.
us any? Did you give us any indicator that you were doing this?
Nope.
Can I help him by dying in front of everybody?
I like it. Archie has a moment like, huh? And then,
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh
I mean, sure. Billy, you get a performance check with advantage.
no.
I'll say I'm
Right.
flavoring this as he's channeling his wild shape to start foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, you gave no indication you were doing this for us.
Nope.
none whatsoever. No, because like Archie's just like, I'm gonna taste it, and Billy's like, wait,
Wait.
just wants
In
to
the
see.
moment. Spur of the moment. Yeah.
What'd you say? Performance or yeah?
Yes. With advantage.
And I argue deception because I have a student die in that.
It's all good. You're not gonna like what I'm gonna try to do.
Oh God,
No, it's more performance.
dang it. Okay. Well, I rolled a 1 and a 9.
9's better.
A 9.
Oh well, let me roll an insight, see if I believe you.
It was not a believable
I-
performance.
Hey.
It was definitely one of those where he's like, "God, the tea was poison."
Bro,
Oh
York
no!
was gonna York was gonna shove his fingers and make you throw up is what he was gonna do. So I'm so glad.
Where? Oh.
Billy, you stand up, you scream. Archie, not having much time to prepare, just like spits into his hand real quick and rubs it on his mouth. Kara stands up and says, "If you're not going to take this seriously, then maybe we can just take care of it ourselves."
Sorry,
Not how I expected
he
this.
started choking. He drank the same cup that Artemis had, and he started coughing. And I thought,
You don't have to explain yourself, Billy. Don't worry. Trust the process. We are professionals.
Billy just like awkwardly sits down.
And Dell winks at Archie.
Jara crawls out from underneath one of the booths, out of breath, sweating, but holding the mouse.
Hello, Jetta.
I found one. I've been looking for a long time.
Was established that you had found one. You learned that you didn't speak mouse, set it down on the table to have a one-on-one conversation, and it ran off. And you
Oh, is that what
then
happened?
chased
Well, I was
it.
assuming I would use my speak with animals spell, but I guess we could do it the hard way.
Oh,
Well,
you
I
have a
didn't know
speak-
you had that.
You didn't say it. You didn't say that. You just said
said you
I
were
mean,
find
I
a
did
rat.
use
Talk
it
to
to
a
talk to
mouse.
the panther
Well,
literally
he was-
yesterday.
Oh yeah.
He was setting the mouse down to cast the spell, and that's when the damn thing ran away.
All
So you had
right.
to catch it again,
You're right.
cast the
That's
spell.
right. 100%.
Now he's ready to catch it.
Yep.
Well, I don't know what's going on, so I guess I'll go ahead and just ask the mouse what's going on.
See if I can do it in one breath. So that person over there, he talked to that person, and that person was saying a lot of things, and then they decided that they were going to go upstairs. So then they went upstairs, and I don't know exactly what happened because I was hiding from you at that time. But when I peeked out around the corner, I saw them talking to that guy, and that guy seemed a little bit upset about it, but he was kind of like a jerk. But he's always been kind of a jerk. He tried to kick me earlier, and then they stopped talking to him, and they came back and they sat down at this one table, and then the other two people they came back downstairs and they sat at that table, and they've been talking, and then just now one of them died, but they didn't really die.
Well, that's good. That they're not really dead.
Am I gonna die? Because like most people who touch me just kill me, and right now you're just kind of holding me, like I just don't know what to make of it.
I am sorry about that. It's just that you were wiggling so much. Here, don't run away. I have more questions, but I also have sunflower seeds.
Immediately drooling from the mouth.
They're right in this bag over here. Just stay right here. Do we have a deal?
Absolutely, those are my favorite.
No one touch him. Doesn't like being touched. It's understandable. I'm gonna get him some sunflower seeds. So, what about what happened? How long has it been since the person is dead? The first
Okay.
person.
They died
It's only been-
sometime over the night. It's about 5 o'clock now in the afternoon. Dinner will be served in about 30 minutes. The person who died but didn't die was Archie because he was faking his death because he drank the tea that was on Artemis's bedside. And it was
Why-
not poisoned.
Oh. Okay, I guess I'll ask him. Have you or anyone in your family heard anything about Kerfluffle up there in the room? Somebody was hurt last night.
A kerfuffle. The only kerfuffle I heard was somebody snoring. That was very loud. Other than that, we tend to hang out in the kitchen and eat the cheese. Especially at night because there's not anybody down there. The evil dwarf lady's not down there, which is really the biggest problem. But I didn't hear anybody banging around upstairs or anything like that.
You didn't hear anything about, throats being slashed or people being strangled.
Can you hear a person be strangled?
I mean, I assume they might kick or something. I wouldn't just lie there still. Would you?
Depends.
All right. Well, you've earned your sunflower seeds. I think there's some peanuts in there too. Maybe where should I put these?
Don't worry
Maybe-
about it. I'll take care of it. Just leave the bag there. Back away slowly, please.
All right.
He zips the bag up, ties it in a little knot, grabs it in his mouth, and just chucks himself and the bag off the table and scampers under one of the nearby benches.
I'm Jared, by the way.
You
I
found
don't know if
your
I've
rat.
I don't know if I've been spending my time the most wisely. But once I get locked on something, it's so hard to change gears.
Well,
I'm kind of hyper focused.
to bring you up to speed, we've mostly just been asking people questions. So far, John is a prime suspect, one of the Quill Watch guards. Most likely just because he has the best motive. Because if he plants this all on Kata, then she's gone. Artemis is dead, so then he's now in charge. Kata probably didn't do it. Artemis, the dead guy, is a jerk. Oh, I'm bad cop. And Hugo, not Hugo. No, yes. Hugo is a nice man, probably for no apparent reason. No,
You
no, no.
don't need a
Enoch.
reason to be
Enoch.
nice.
Sorry, that was Enoch. Enoch is the.
Enoch's good. Hugo sucks.
Got it. So this John feller, is this John with an H or John short for something?
I didn't ask.
You can never trust the ones that are hiding letters in their names.
Hmm.
I don't know which that refers to. The silent hidden H or all the other letters. Maybe just don't trust John's.
Don't
Agreed.
trust John. Writing
Speaking
that
of
down.
which, I'll be right back. I gotta hit John, so I'll catch up with you guys here in a second.
Don't trust it.
We don't know if he did it. We can't hit him yet.
Then I start to walk away. I was like, "Oh, Dell, keep an eye on Billy. I'm protecting him at the moment." So
What are we protecting him from?
yeah,
Murderer,
I'm not actually
probably.
using the bathroom.
He says, "I'm gonna use the John," and just sits there.
yeah, yeah.
Were you gonna? You're not doing it right now, are you?
Oh,
Like,
I
Don't
thought
worry,
you
some
were
magic.
mastered my control water spell.
What, you guys don't have a bag of piss?
no.
you
Is that a thing?
like a bag of holding.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
just like it's just a
You do
portable
know.
bathroom.
You
I
do
mean,
know.
technically.
You can reach, like, there is a maximum amount, and if you exceed that, how
Yeah,
long have you been
I-
doing this? Because I'm very nervous now.
Oh, I don't
Tim,
clean it
homework
out.
for tomorrow, the next class. How much does a bag of holding hold, and how many times do you have to pee in it for it to overflow?
That would be some fast homework, but noted.
Okay, so what do we want to do from here? We've
But
talked
yeah, just the cleaners clean it out for me, so I don't have to do anything.
We've checked the scene of the crime. We've interrogated some individuals.
Everybody is now getting kind of seated for dinner. We've still got about 20 minutes, but
Okay. I mean, we haven't searched around elsewhere, like the kitchens. The window was ajar in his room. Checking around outside. That's all I have. All we really have to go on is that he was foaming at the mouth for a reason we don't know, and he has a wound on his side that was probably received within the last day or so, with odd colorations.
Surely someone can tell us how that happened, right?
No, actually, they can't. Kara doesn't know. She has her theories, and John won't say. Actually, John denied even knowing about it. He said that that their mission went smoothly. No issues whatsoever. Suspicious, if you ask me.
I thought it would take
Especially
longer than that to
considering-
pee 500 pounds.
114 days. Now that's assuming you never take the bag and empty it. Like, you'd eventually empty it, right? You
We
pee for a
really
week.
Oh, no, no, no.
assume there would
I
be
wouldn't.
no
My
evaporation.
cleaners would.
I
Like,
would try and get it to that last drop. Like you
Living
open
on
the
the edge.
bag and it's just an ocean, right up to the very
I-
brim.
I almost did take the optional background feature where I would have had like 3 servants following me, but I said, nah, I didn't want him to be that kind of noble. So,
All right. So, do you want to continue to talk to people? Do you want to? You can look around outside. There's the stable outside as well. That's another building that's nearby. Otherwise, it's forest. You have all of the
didn't you
rooms
guys,
upstairs or the
didn't you
kitchen.
guys say he had like a wound on his neck or something like that? Like, well, not his earlier wound, but didn't he have some kind of mark on him?
There
no,
were no ligature marks on his neck.
no.
Okay,
Just
maybe I
his
just heard
face
the
was
no.
kind of modeled in a black and blue color.
Never mind.
So
Um,
we're sure this isn't a suicide.
nope. But there was no note, and it's so rude to suicide without a note.
I mean, can't we just
Del,
say and then we're done?
Give me a wisdom check, Del.
Sure. Wisdom. Oh, no, that's perception. That is 6.
6.
Mhm.
You've never known for anybody to. Well, first of all, you don't know anybody who has committed suicide, and
Mhm.
all of your information about people committing suicide are from like books. However, it should be noted that you didn't actually check the room for a note.
This is true.
I
Anyway,
investigated the room. I just did it poorly.
Alright,
So then, as
now
far
it's
as you know, you investigated thoroughly.
As far as I know.
just-
rolled
now we need to go
investigation
find a
and rolled
suicide
bad.
mode.
I like how Andrew is really getting into character by playing super short, by also only being able to like, from his
this whole time,
eyes.
his head this whole time. Yes. Other than perhaps going on a wild goose chase and trying to track down the location that he received the letter for the secret mission. I'm not sure of a lot of places to check around here. How do we feel? We feeling to stretch our legs for a bit or just investigate the area surrounding here?
I mean, I'm a bit peckish and dinner is coming up.
Oh, after dinner, of course. Of course.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. You know,
Okay, so we have to eat, fuel the
Yeah.
body.
you didn't specify. You were making an old man nervous. I've been walking all day, you know?
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, why
I mean-
don't we just go look in John's crap, go see if there's poison or whatever, and see what's up.
I mean, she leaves the keys just right up there. Are the keys currently right up there
Yes, they are.
behind the bar?
Yes, they are.
No,
Like-
we could get that easily enough.
Someone grab the
We could
keys.
probably just ask.
So we're just
I
gonna
mean-
look through people's stuff.
Not
Well,
all of
no.
us.
One of them's a
We're going
murderer,
through-
so
We're going
okay.
through John's stuff.
But if one of them's a murderer, that means most of them aren't.
I think they'll understand.
All right.
No,
the great-
we're just going through John's. It's John, and we know it.
Where
That
is
would
this
be who I
John
suggest.
Teller?
He's right where we left him. We were just talking to him over there.
Yep. He's like right there.
He's too busy
Yes.
murdering someone else.
He's currently stabbing a man.
I just
Oh,
said
yeah,
that
I
we
think-
could
I think
talk
I
to
know who the
John.
murderer is.
You want to
I
talk to
don't, I don't want to waste game time, but I think
I
that's
know,
what we do.
do whatever your heart desires. This is D&D. I would
Okay.
say within reason, but honestly, a lot of the things that this group has done, not in this campaign, but in others, are not within reason.
Name one
I like
thing.
to
Name one
Um,
thing.
Name one thing.
anything any of my characters do, I change the entire storyline somehow.
Throwing a fish at a hag.
That was within reason.
No
it was
reason.
within reason.
It worked
I-
really well, but it was without reason. You see this,
It
you
was
see
out of
this
nowhere.
beautiful woman going across in a boat. I throw a fish at her. Why?
Yes.
That was how he flirts.
The
Wait.
funny thing is, like, now I would see that it's a hag. Like, so my
Mhm.
character would actually see that it's a hag. But at that point, I didn't. I needed one.
No,
more
it was
level.
just a lady.
I was just like, yeet.
Leaving a stool behind to be eaten by a demogorgon.
What do you mean? That was definitely reason.
That was within his character,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He grossed me
we
the
didn't
crap
have enough
out.
people. we didn't
And-
have enough people, and we didn't care for Stool except for Tim.
Actually, I did have enough space for the spell. I could have brought him, but I didn't want to.
The ironic
I
part
thought you
is
ran out of people. Awesome! I thought you ran out. Like,
I did too.
No, I didn't. No, he intentionally.
Interestingly, by the end of the campaign, the idea of a mushroom attaching itself to Lou is traumatizing.
Mm,
This is true.
mm.
She was
I did.
all for it.
I did love every time I got negative XP. I was like, "What? Gideon didn't care. Why am I getting negative XP?" I literally called him the bait.
Um, the funny thing is that if you had kept Stool with you the whole time, he would have immediately told you something was wrong from the get-go. And you probably would have dodged that entire thing. Anyway, that is totally off topic. So back to where we are.
Zoom.
Jera, whatever you want to do,
Do
you
it.
have our blessing.
Okay. What is John doing right now?
He is
Okay.
staring at the fire in the fireplace, sitting on a couch, drinking an ale.
Drinking an ale. Okay, well, I will go buy another one and go over and sit beside him.
Okay. Ales, you have a couple of different drinks you can choose from, because of course. You have a black currant lemonade, mead, Undermountain pale ale, South Lake red wine, apple brandy, or a large pot of tea.
Can I ask which one that he had?
He has mead.
I will take a mead.
It is 1 silver.
That is so expensive. I will take it.
Pretty much the motto of my life. Right.
That's how my house shopping went.
Sometime I'll have to tell you about the $400 puzzle I own. But anyway,
Oh my goodness.
oh, I got a big sigh from Mariah. Anyway, John takes a sip of his drink and kind of hazily looks down at you, nods, and looks back into the fire.
She's gonna say, "Pardon, I don't mean to bother you, but I don't think I knew what I was doing when I ordered this. It's a mead, I guess, but not really my kind of thing. I wonder if maybe you want it. Looks like you're drinking the same thing."
You don't like mead? You don't like honey wine? I mean,
Well, I'm really very small, and if I had this much alcohol, well, who knows what would happen.
I mean, you want to trade? Mine's only got about a third left.
Sure, we could make a deal.
Not a fair trade, but if you, I mean, all right. He hands you his mug and he takes yours.
It's a crazy night. It seems like everyone's
It's been a long
up in
couple of
arms.
days.
Couple of days.
Oh yeah, we're like 5 days out of Serrano. And he dropped off the prisoner and then started heading back here before we hit the thunderstorm, but it's been a you know how travel is. Travel's just exhausting.
Yeah, I know that. It is, and all of this certainly can't help the situation. They're not really letting us rest. Everybody asking questions, and
Well, Kara's acting leader and she's doing a great job of it. Trying to figure out get to the bottom of this.
so have you done any looking into it yourself?
Yeah, I've been listening in on a bunch of conversations and I snooped around kind of this main area here and kind of got my bearings of everybody who's here. And I mean, I agree with your friends. I mean, if anybody did it, it's probably Kara.
Oh, that's what they said, huh?
Yeah. The old guy. No, not the old guy. Sorry. Little guy with a cane. And the weird talking guy. I think they were trying the good cop, bad cop thing, but like they were both just kind of like mediocre cop.
Yeah, they're a fun bunch once you get to know them, though.
Sure.
Not bad folk at all. I like to get to know people to find out the real story. You know, sometimes people get to jump into conclusions before they really know what's going on.
Sure. Why, you think you've solved it?
Oh, I'm nowhere close. Nowhere close at all. One of my friends, I said something that's got me thinking. They said it's possible he might have killed himself.
Artemis killing himself? No.
Why do you say that?
That man has family. His wife just had a baby like 4 weeks ago. He was super excited about that. He's stupid rich, got an awesome house. He's doing great at his job. What in the world would he have to kill himself over? And I'll tell you what, not a sign of it, anybody thinking about killing themselves.
Well, I've never been able to figure out why anyone would.
Hmm.
Seems like you just go to bed, you close your eyes, and tomorrow it might be better.
Yeah, well, if the tomorrows never get better, it's easy to lose hope.
They always might, though.
It's your opinion, but all right.
I guess I'm worried, you know, if he killed himself, I'm worried that somebody out looking for blood might start accusing the wrong person. It's a terrible thing somebody gets murdered. It'd be really terrible if 2 lives were lost.
True. But I mean, what makes you think that he killed himself at all anyway?
I don't know what to think.
Hmm.
She's gonna look into the drink and she's gonna say, "You don't seem too concerned about it. Maybe I should try some of this honey mead after all."
It's not that I'm not concerned. It's that if Kara wants to be acting leader, then she needs to lead. I'm not going to hold her hand. She said she wanted to do an investigation. I said, sure. I said, what do you want me to do? She said, I'll take care of it. I said, all right.
Did he not say that she was who he thought did it?
He did say that.
Well, aren't you worried that if she's capable of killing somebody, that she might be capable of accusing somebody to cover her tracks?
I'm letting her have her fun.
He's gonna look at the drink again and be like, and take a gulp. I just need to relax.
We're going to leave in the morning, one way or the other. Let her have her fun. Let her accuse of whoever she wants to. And then at the end of the day, the accused will go free and I'll take her into custody.
Can I roll insight on that?
Sure. The only thing that's stopping me from arresting her now is that I don't know how she did it. Maybe you're right. Maybe he just killed himself. I don't know. Go ahead. Al. Go. I don't have roll 20 open, so you have to tell me what your roll is.
I also don't have roll 20 open until now. Reroll, maybe. I don't know. How does anything work? Hey, I rolled something. Did I roll something?
Yeah, it looks like you rolled like 3 times. Or
Oh, well, let's not take the last one.
no. The first one was 8. The second one was 18. The third one was 6, and the last one was natural 1.
All right, wait. Let me 8, 18, 6, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Together,
So
that
your
adds up.
average is an 8.25. As far as you can tell, he is truthful. Or at least there's nothing standing out that would tell you that he's lying.
Hmm.
Nothing
No
outward.
tails.
Billy, York, and Dell, what would you like to do?
All right, so then after we eat, where shall we head? How do you feel? I'm leaning towards look around outside, just a quick glance, just because we haven't checked it yet.
I mean, that seems good. Did his room have a window? I still haven't looked at his.
Yes, and it was slightly ajar.
Okay.
Ah, well, let's check the backside of that. Maybe
Yeah.
there's some evidence in the bushes there.
Yeah.
It
And
was on the
then we
second
prove
floor,
that.
but yes.
We'll see if there's a way to climb up. Although I
Right.
guess if someone had magic, they could just float.
Yes.
And then we prove that John did it.
Mm-hmm.
We beat him up, kill him, whatever, whatever we gotta do,
I really don't know how that's gonna like. If we're gonna have to convince Kara that John did it, because Kara is gonna have to arrest John,
We'll need evidence.
because we're not gonna be able to like do anything about it. Like I'm not, this is fun and all. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't want to be on the wrong side of the the
Quote
guards. Like I'm just. Mm-mm. I'm saying.
We need evidence. Yes, we'll need evidence.
So I mean, honestly, someone sneaking into his room while everyone else is distracted ain't the worst idea in the world. Billy just kind of like towards York. I'm not telling you to break the rules, but if I happen to be looking this direction, I don't see nothing.
Do you say you want me to break into his door? Is that what you said?
I never explicitly said anything like that.
Dill's gonna walk over
Aren't
to
you-
where
aren't you,
the
like,
keys are.
Good with like tools and stuff? Wouldn't you want to pick it instead of me just busting it?
Well,
Please
there's
don't bust it.
No, there's keys right there. Okay, you know what? I'm seeing. Nope, it was a bad idea. York, you are my guard. You're sticking with me.
Dell, what would you like to do?
Going over to where the keys are. Is there some sort of labeling system, or are they just room numbers and stuff?
It is a ring of keys with from what you've seen with Inga, they have a number on each key, and there are a number on the doors upstairs.
Okay. Is it just the one ring of keys, or are there different keys?
There are there's like a box with keys, individual keys that are hanging out, and of course the keys that have people in them, those keys are not currently there. And then below it you have a ring of keys that are like the master copy of all of them.
Okay. In the ring key, that one is just sitting there.
It's just on a hook underneath that box on the wall.
Oh yeah. Then he's just gonna use Mage Hand to just draw it over to his hand and then just walk back to the table.
All right.
100% Billy has no idea what just happened. He's still like trying to.
Because you were talking to York.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Inga comes out with a large tray. Says, "This is only tray 1. Don't worry, everybody." And she starts to set plates down in front of everyone. Today she is serving a hot rabbit stew, served with carrots, potatoes, and parsnips, cooked together with juniper berries. There is a basket of farm bread at the side and butter for each table. And for dessert, it is a blueberry pie with whipped cream.
That sounds good.
Very nice.
Billy will definitely offer to help, like bring stuff out or set, like bring dishes or something.
Sure. She happily obliges and says that there's another tray of food in the kitchen.
Billy will go to the kitchen to try to
Okay.
find the.
Are you wanting to
Kara,
look around the kitchen as well, or are you just wanting to just go in, grab the tray, and come right back out?
He'll do a cursory glance. He's also hoping to catch her coming back into the kitchen.
Okay.
hmm,
It's going to take her just a second, so you've got about 30 seconds before she comes back into that room. Go ahead and give me let's do perception. Since you're just doing a cursory glance, let's do perception. If you're wanting to look for something in particular, you could say
You had initially said, well, you know what? I didn't say anything,
What?
so I'm not. 21.
What'd you say?
Oh, you'd initially said that the thing that Vitra brought was in a basket, and you said a package, and we later learned that she's the meat supplier.
Yes.
Did it, like when you're talking a basket, would it be like a basket you'd expect meat to come in? I don't know how medieval meat was transported, but I basket doesn't make sense to me.
a basket full of meat.
Yeah, it just seems
Not that you would know this, but just for your own sake,
wax paper.
it is a literal like wicker basket and it had 5 dead rabbits in it. Like,
I'm thinking like processed meat, not.
Okay.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, neither here nor there. I
Yeah.
just wasn't picturing it right in my head. 21.
21. Okay. So as you're looking around very quickly, the kitchen is organized very well with all the ingredients stored in fine porcelain containers with wooden lids. Each container is labeled with the name of the contents in Dwarvish. Do you read Dwarvish?
Actually, I think I do. Give me a second. Go to my efficiencies. I definitely have. There it is. Languages: Common, Draconic, Dwarven. Yes,
All right.
I do.
Nice.
So 3 shelves are filled with herbs and various types of teas. On a closer look, some of the herbs and dried mushrooms are in fact poisonous, especially in larger quantities from what are labeled. There is also a jar of frog leaves, which is handy. But otherwise, a large iron wrought oven takes up a better part of the kitchen. Several pots filled with stew are slowly simmering on the stovetop. The room smells strongly of food, herbs, and fresh made bread. There is another room that's attached to this, which is the scullery, which is just a small room for storage of food and firewood. It's kind of, you walk into the kitchen and to your right, it kind of curves back around. If you want to step in there, you can. If not,
No, he's not trying to look too suspicious, and he's waiting for her.
sure. There is a tray of food, of course, next to the oven. And about that point, Inga does come back into the room. Dell and Yorick, what would you guys like to be doing?
Is Kara sitting by herself or with people?
Kara is sitting next to John on the couch. They've decided to take that, let the others have the tables.
No, okay. I'm going to cast message to Kara
Okay.
and ask her. You say, "This is Dell. What is John's room number?"
2, 1, 1.
That's all. He's going. Dell's gonna stand up and be like, I'm gonna go check out John's room. Do you want to
Okay.
go?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Am I back with the group at all?
You are.
Yeah, I was gonna pass by you if you weren't. But yes, Jenna, we're gonna check out John's room. Do you want to come?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I have a thought, but I can have it in there.
Yes,
Do you
I
have a
find-
way of letting Billy know? Because I'm supposed to be protecting him.
He just looks back to you, just quickly turns over and looks towards that kitchen direction, and then casts a message. He says, Billy, we're going to check out John's room.
Billy does not respond. I don't think he's ever done the message thing before. He's just like,
So Dell just stares at the kitchen for a moment, and then turns back.
Okay.
Yes, I told him.
You head upstairs. You have the keys in your hand. You go to room 1, which is you get up the stairs, take a left. You're staring at room 2. You look further to your left. It's room 1. The key labeled number 1 opens the door just fine. All the items in the room are organized and tidy. The surfaces are clean and uncluttered. There's a desk. There's an open fireplace. There's a bed and a bedside table and a chest.
Right. No, that's not my accent. All right. Yes. Let's
I still have no
investigate.
clue what my accent.
This is fine. We're young. We are learning our accents.
All right. See, that's not it.
Oh, why is this looking weird?
You all could actually go try to check out the fireplace to see if you try to burn any evidence.
Sure. Give me an investigation check.
Sure. Character sheet? Did I exit my character sheet?
And I'm trying to get my character sheet on there too. I'm like, where'd it go?
Oh, I guess I closed roll 20 as a whole, or it timed out. Your boop boop boop. And investigation. Is an 18.
18. Okay. The fire's still burning low. Still gives off a pleasant warmth. So you can't reach in and grab anything. If you do see something, it is still on fire. But you do see that there is a small piece of partially burned paper among the ashes that surround the fire. You are able to kind of get a pretty close look at it. It's really burnt though, and it's impossible to say who wrote it or what it contains. As you reach out to try and grab it, it just crumbles to ash.
I'm gonna check out the chest and then the room as a whole, specifically the chest.
Investigation or insight for the chest.
Investigation 24.
Goodness. So the chest it's large, it's wooden. It contains a stack of nicely folded clothes organized by color and type. Even the socks are placed in impeccable rows. There is a well thumbed through copy of 100 Masterful Military Strategies and How to Counter Them, Volume 3, written by Commander C.K. Rosewood. Next to the book is a foldable triptych wood carving that features the symbol of a deity of bravery, which is a metal gauntlet, as well as a scene from a famous tale of when this deity rode to battle on his golden dragon to fight another deity known as the Lord of Light. On a closer look, though, the triptych wood carving can be flipped around to reveal the symbol of an evil deity known as the Prince of Deceit. The inside also features a carving of a gory scene that portrays this deity enslaving the world and punishing his adversaries. The carving is exquisitely detailed and disturbingly descriptive. The rest of the room, as you kind of look around while holding this triptych, the desk, the documents, and ink jars are neatly arranged. The pens are sorted in size order and are perfectly sharpened. The bed is neatly made. Its blanket is folded to perfection. There's an empty leather backpack on the floor at the end of the bed, but otherwise there's not really anything in this room.
Yes, this is beautiful and also very creepy. But other than this,
Does look expensive.
yes, very. Seems
And
like we have
you're
a
right. I mean, I still want one.
It seems like we are dealing with a very hardened soldier who has very strong beliefs in something.
Don't break that.
Oh, yes, I should put it back just exactly where I found it. Because he will
Alright.
probably know.
Could you tell me maybe why you're so sure it's this John feller again?
Yes, you're tell him your foolproof method of deduction.
You know, you did a better job at explaining it in my words somehow. So I'll let you.
Well, you see, after interrogating all the individuals, and during the process of this interrogation, also doing a secondary test with everyone, a psychological test. They weren't aware. We determined that John has the most motive for killing Mr. Artemis. And so far no one else has a motive at all.
Well, I mean, just because someone has a motive to kill someone doesn't mean they did it.
Well, no, but that does make him the prime suspect for having not only the only motive, but also a good one.
And Kyle, okay, and I like look both ways, even though I know we're the only one in this room. Is the snore so oh good.
So
Kara?
Yes.
Do what?
Do you mean Kara? There's Kyle and Kara. Kara's the soldier. Kyle's the.
Just both of them? Oh my goodness. I thought we were saying Kyle for Kara.
can you
Mhm.
explain to
No.
me what you mean by the snoring?
That was the psychological test that with every investigation, we asked who is the snorer, asking each individual which one snored, because I'm a bit iffy on this. I'm just learning this technique. Yorick is the one who taught it to me. If they lie, then that means they're either the snorer or the murderer. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes,
Right.
correct.
Yes. I had to write that one down. I was unaware of this method.
Because if you murder someone, you're sensitive about embarrassing them.
No. So the one that's would be embarrassed was the one that was asleep, so we can for sure, say they're good. But then the other one was too busy murdering and not too busy hearing snoring. Foolproof plan. There is zero flaws in it, especially when you don't think about it.
So
Quote of the night. There are zero flaws in this, especially when you don't think about it.
So that's good detective work, and I don't have any complaints. But
No, you have to keep this room pristine. He knows where everything is.
if I'm learning anything about detective work, it's that it's not very easy. And it seems to me that the stakes are very high if you're working on guesswork. So, well, there's no professors listening. I think we should cheat.
In what way? What are you suggesting?
Well, maybe I haven't worked out the best way yet, but do you remember how I asked you if you could talk to the dead?
Yes, I do remember.
And you said no,
Yes.
but no one heard you say no.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Somebody who's guilty of murder probably doesn't want to be caught and might do something desperate if they thought they were going to be.
Oh, you're a
Yeah.
genius. We'll say we're planning a ritual for like tomorrow or in a few hours or whatever, and they will try to kill Dell. Well, stop him in some way, shape, or form. To not do the ritual, so then that body can't snitch on him.
Yes, I believe this could work. I can even make the body move a little bit, like it's
No,
reanimated.
I said my other
That's
thing was
creepy.
foolproof,
I
but
love
this
it.
is actually foolproof.
Please don't use that word. It makes me nervous.
Let's get out of this room and let Billy
I
know
just
of the
love
plan.
John's smile the entire time. It's like
So it might require some planning.
What? I mean, I thought he just said it. We'll go around and say, hey, we'll talk specifically to Kara and John, but kind of make it not so quiet so people overhear, and say we're going to perform a ritual in 1 hour because I have to gather the energy to speak with the dead. And Artemis will tell us who the killer is.
And then they'll ask us why we didn't start with that.
I'll say I had needed to gather energy. I was hungry.
and then he had his meal and he's good to go.
Actually, I'd probably say that we're students, first year students at the college, and wanted to test our skills with detective work, but it really wasn't working out. So we're just going to cast a spell. Sorry for wasting your time.
You know, I like it. It's dumb, but it's the kind of dumb that people like us might do.
I'm just saying this one's foolproof even when you do think about it. So let's do it.
That's a good sign.
Billy, what are you doing? They've been gone for a suspiciously long time.
So
Waiting for what's her name?
yeah, you said Inga came
yeah, that's
back
right.
in, and then we kind of paused and
You're right.
jumped.
Inga has walked back in. You're holding the tray. She's like, "Oh well, I can take it."
Like, no, you need to get. I've already got it. And he like pauses for a second. He's like, actually, I did want to apologize to you. I didn't mean to cause a scene. Like I may or may not have implied that the tea was poisoned, and I didn't want to make it seem like your establishment poisoned him.
No. I knew the tea wasn't poisoned, but
How'd you know the tea wasn't?
because I made it.
I mean, I think the assumption, well, so at this point we're thinking maybe he might have been poisoned or strangled, and he didn't look like he was strangled, so he was probably poisoned, and like there's a cup of tea there. So like not to say that
I knew
you
that-
poisoned him, but like could someone have snuck something into his tea?
I knew
Well-
the tea wasn't poisoned because I poisoned the food.
I don't think there would have been any way for anybody to sneak in any poison. Most people were asleep. I was just cleaning up when Artemis came back down and asked for a cup of tea, and I obliged. I said I'd bring it up to his room. And just a few short minutes later, I handed it to him directly. So I wouldn't know how anybody could have poisoned it.
Okay, unless you poisoned it though, right? I hear the Artemis fellow wasn't exactly the nicest.
Well, you know those leader types. Got to show who's boss, you know.
To the innkeeper? I mean, sounds like he was pretty disrespectful to you.
I mean, what are you gonna do? I didn't like him, but I didn't kill him.
It'd be bad for business though, right?
Yeah, of course it would be, but
I will say you'll get a glowing review from us. The food's been fantastic.
thank you. I do really take my time in trying to prepare this food.
I work in a kitchen myself, and I know and he like looks around. I know a quality kitchen when I see one, and Fantasy Gordon Ramsay would be proud.
Well, yeah, of course, but anyway, we need to get this food out to everybody. So I'll just take it from you. You don't have to worry about it. I can do it. But thank you for offering to help. And
Billy definitely does not. He's like, oh no, I've got it. And he's gonna like shimmy, like go to the side. We're like, no, that's fine, and like try to get around her.
sure. Go ahead and give me an insight check.
You guys have not been friendly tonight. Oh, I think insight's one of my. Oh, I'm gonna use the student die. Okay, so insight 20.
20. As you're talking to her, she's showing pretty classic signs of being under stress. It could just be because somebody got murdered in her inn. You're not exactly sure. But she is a nervous wreck. And with that, we are going to end our session for tonight.
Aw.